Tesla, all about their stock, all about this roller coaster ride that Tesla has been on. Honestly, it's been insane because from the time we talk about it to the time our content gets posted, like there's like 100 other things going on with Tesla. So it's just hilarious that it's hard for us to even produce content on this that's one, accurate, and two, is, you know, a reflection of what's going on right now in the exact moment that it's occurring, because things are moving so quickly with this company. So anyways, just to put into perspective, Tesla was trading at around like $250 a share, just like, let's say 6 months ago. And then more recently, let's say in the last like 3 months, they went all the way down to all-time low around $140 a share. So that's massive. The percentage decline is like 40% of your company's value from that point. So it's just a huge decrease in market cap, a huge decrease in the stock price. And there are many reasons why that happened. But then even as we are filming this today, even more stuff came out. But essentially, I'll start from when it dropped all the way down to $140 a share. Essentially, Tesla keeps missing their projections. So essentially, they're missing their revenue projections. They're missing their delivery projections. There's less demand for their electric cars. So a lot of people are worried that their revenue is just going to start decreasing now over time because they don't have new cars, they don't have new products that are, you know, enticing people to invest in, you know, buying more Tesla vehicles. They're getting a lot more competition within the United States. They're getting a lot more competition, even more so in China. They're able to even produce electric cars cheaper than Tesla already. So it's just like, as an electric car company, it does make sense that they're hurting big time Tesla, because it's just like now all of a sudden there's so much competition and it just doesn't look like they're going to be able to outcompete these companies in terms of price. Obviously, Elon Musk saw all this happening, and so he has his earnings call probably 7 days ago from when we're filming this. And on the earnings call, he specifies that yes, Tesla is in the works to produce a cheaper car. Essentially, he was just saying that within their existing factories, they're just going to ramp up production like crazy. They're going to stop building their other new factories for now, and they're just going to focus on ramping up production in their existing factories. And with that, he was saying that they could already get the cost of their cars, their cheapest model, down to, let's say, the $25,000 mark that everyone's asking for. So that was something that everyone was happy about. But then what he did next was really what allowed Tesla stock to jump massively. Was essentially, he made it very clear that Tesla needs to be looked at and evaluated as an AI and robotics company, not as a electric car manufacturer, but a specific AI and robotics company. And the reason he said is that his vision for Tesla, and again, this is the same vision he's had for like the last 5 to 10 years. Like, he's been working on this vision for a while, but essentially what he said that they're very close to is having robo-taxis that are completely autonomous. And he put it into perspective and he painted a picture very well. And I think that that's what allowed the stock to recover so much, is that essentially what he was saying is that FSD is so close to being put out there for everybody to use and for it to be completely autonomous. And when that happens, they're going to have a Tesla fleet of vehicles where, let's say you own a Tesla, okay? And you don't use it for, let's say, 90% of the day, like everybody. We go to work and then we don't use our Tesla. Essentially what you could do is, within the hours of, let's say, 9 to 5 where you're at work, you could have your Tesla generate you income by being part of the robo-taxi fleet. So that's the vision that he was selling to people, is that you buy your Tesla, you get your FSD, and then now when you're not using your Tesla, it gets put into this fleet of vehicles that will actually start earning you income as it gets used as like a platform like Uber, let's say. So that's the first thing. One, you can make passive income. The other thing is that robo-taxis in general, basically when you look at who it would compete with, it's going to compete with Uber, obviously. But Uber, their biggest cost is the driver. It's labor. That's a huge, it's pretty much what all their costs come from. Uber is labor as a percentage of their revenue, okay? And so if you look at robo-taxis now, there's no cost of labor and there's no cost of the vehicle either. Plus they have access to like a fleet of God knows how many Teslas are available in the marketplace in general. So they could potentially have access to more cars than Uber has in all areas, all 8 major cities, at a fraction of the cost that it costs Uber to run those rides instantaneously once FSD goes live. And that was kind of the picture that he painted on the earnings call. And literally the stock jumped. Like after hours, it was up like 12% on that call, and nothing changed, right? It's just the vision that he portrayed to people shifted, and all of a sudden everybody's pulling their capital back into Tesla. So I just thought that it was really a masterclass on why you need to have a vision and a roadmap as a CEO, and you can't really let all the detractors deviate you from that vision. It's the same vision he's had for so long. I'm sure when all this was going on, he was like, these people are just lunatics. I've been saying what my roadmap is this whole time. I'm even closer to executing on it than I've ever have been. And they think that they're worried about me producing a cheaper car so I could sell more of these vehicles. The point is that I'm not even going to prioritize selling these vehicles necessarily. See what I mean? So it was just super interesting for me to see.
I agree, but he definitely wants to sell vehicles because at the end of the day, he's got investors.
No, obviously,
right?
but I think long term, he thinks so far ahead of the sale of the vehicle.
Absolutely. Listen, and the other thing too, and we briefly touched on this last week as well, or the last episode, I should say, is Tesla's going through a roller coaster right now, but it's fine. A lot of companies do. It's just the name of the game. Apple, started off not as good as well. So the one thing I would have to say though, where Tesla has is they basically have kind of like, with him being the CEO and obviously, being such a part and advocate online and buying X, that is like advertising you can't even pay for. You know what I mean? So that's why also, if he says something nuts, investors can get scared. But if he says things like that, it's like they don't really have to pay as much as, let's say, other brands. For prime example, why is this hydration brand doing so well? Prime by Logan Paul and KSI. They pay zero. Now, obviously, they're getting more and more in influencers. But at the beginning, when they started, the budget that they took was all for production and branding, and they utilized it towards himself. So that was the name of it. And that's why it built and became so big as it is so quickly. So with Elon Musk, same thing. Like right now, when he says things like that, of course, because his reach, his platform, he's going to have people saying negative, people saying positive things. So that's why it's like you can't count them out. But in terms of the actual business of where it's going, I definitely think that will be huge, self-driving cars. In terms of his idea, I think there's still maybe some flaws that they'll have to think about it, right? Like where you drive it and then you can robo-taxi it. For example, like, there's still some fine-tuning.
What does that mean?
Meaning like if, let's say I buy a Tesla and during the night, I want to put it where I can earn me money. Like how to say that someone's not going to smoke in the car, dirty the car with food,
vomit in the car.
Yeah,
they discussed that as well. There has to be a lot of
exactly.
things
So there are those. I think if those ones, and it makes sense for sure. Or else, people are not as respectful as they are, and particularly me. If with my car, I don't like food in there. So I'm just saying, like those little things. You get your car back. There's puke. There's McDonald's everywhere. Someone smoked. There's burn holes. Like it's going to cost you more than what you made on that night.
They'll drive you to the gas station to clean it. Otherwise, you can't get out of the car.
Exactly. So I think there's still things like that, but the vision is good, and I'm excited to see where it is. Let's just hope that hopefully he's the first one to put it out, that it works and that it's successful. And if they have all successful runs without other companies creeping up and doing it before him, then like we always said.
I mean, I think he's just so far ahead in terms of like actually having full self-driving at scale, right? Like other companies could do it within specific cities on specific roads or in specific towns. But like to be able to roll out FSD anywhere and it works very well, completely autonomously, it's an absolute game changer. Okay. But anyways, I think that you're 100% right with what you're saying. Like, obviously, he's creating a lot of volatility in the stock. Like, a big reason why it was also crashing is just people lost faith that he's even focusing on Tesla.
Yep.
He's spending too much time focusing on X. He's spending too much time focusing on SpaceX. He's spending too much time focusing on his 100 other companies, and he doesn't have as much time on Tesla. But then it's the perfect segue into the end of the story. So essentially, today, what happened is he goes to China on behalf of Tesla, and he actually negotiates with China and they approve an FSD rollout within China. And basically the last hurdle was that they had some data security worries from Tesla operating there. And apparently that's all behind us now and it was approved. So essentially they're going to be slowly starting to roll out FSD in China. So that was massive and the stock jumped another 15% or so today. So it's just crazy. Another lesson that teaches me is that like when you're the CEO at the highest level, or even something I respect about him is that when you're the CEO at the highest level, okay, he doesn't necessarily need to spend all his time at Tesla, but he goes to do this key meeting and close a key deal like that. And look, he just increased the market cap of his company by like $100 billion.
For sure, but they also let off like 14,000 employees.
Yeah, I know, but what does that have to do with...
well, I'm just saying, like, obviously he's a visionary, but there's still, like, obviously, for the investors, but in terms of operational inside the company, when you let off...
Yeah, but that's not what he... Like,
14,000 people, bro, that is significant.
I mean, all these companies did massive layoffs though, but obviously he's not involved in the day-to-day of like the specific number crunching within the company. My point was more that like It's incredible that at a high level, he knows that like he has to execute on these key targets. And as long as he executes on these key targets and the rest of the company follows along and helps him execute those targets, like everything else is going to fall into place. You know what I mean? He's been working on this approval for God knows how long. You know, he knew when he was going there that there was probably a high likelihood that today it was going to go through. Like he understands all these things. But then there's people like us on the outside that are like criticizing every move, saying he's not spending enough time or focusing enough time on specific things. But I just think that like it just goes to show that like there's specific activities that have so much leverage within a company. And I think that he's so focused on those super high leverage activities and putting good people in place to do the rest of the stuff that he's able to continuously execute at this high level across this many businesses, across this many industries, and still stay at the top. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's nuts.
If you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to enter a chance to win an all-inclusive vacation for 2 people, click right here.